Let's bring in Al Jazeera senior political analyst Marwan Bishara in London. Mr. Borrell's words there were slightly polite, I would say, with the Secretary of State on the other side of the table, Marwan, but he's been a lot more firm in his statements, which has caught the attention of not just the Americans, but across, you might say, the European political spectrum too.
Well, yes, I mean, his accusations of Israel of weaponizing hunger, of starving the people of Gaza, of creating famine in Gaza, of leading to the death of so many children in Gaza, calling it a war on children. I mean, that sort of language from the European High Commission for Foreign Policy is new. It's late, but, you know, as we always say, it's better than never. It's been 5 months of this, and it seems like they've been awakened to it. But I think there's an interesting moment here, Sohail. It's the fact that the Americans are letting the press in to the meeting, allowing this kind of a soundbite to be aired around the world, in Europe, in the United States, and so on. I think that's important, that's relevant not only to what Borell is saying, but the fact that the Americans want it out. They want to show that the Americans and the Europeans are in agreement over the fact that Netanyahu is weaponizing hunger, and this aid through the sea routes or by air is not sufficient. The borders must be open. You know, I wonder if these leaders and others, like Blinken, like Borell, and here in the UK and elsewhere, are feeling more and more like they are or they have been Netanyahu's useful idiots. Because for 5 months they supported him unconditionally, hoping that when the time comes, he will listen. He doesn't listen. He turns his back on any advice, on any opinion, on any criticism or condemnation, and continues with business as usual, killing fields in Gaza.
Would it be fair to say that Borell is also feeling that pressure too, Marwan, because there are other European governments within the EU and European leaders who have criticised Israel a lot earlier than what Borell is saying right now? There are splits in the EU.
There have been splits in the EU. A number of countries like Ireland, Spain, Belgium, Norway, and others have, in fact, been outspoken. Others haven't. Some have been staunch supporters of Israel. But be that as it may, there's a new, I would say, some form of a consensus emerging. And that's what the Borell has actually underlined, that he's speaking for Europe when he spoke at the UN Security Council and as he speaks in Washington, that Europe is fed up with the weaponization of hunger in Gaza, which is really a war crime. The fact that Netanyahu continues with his usual, pure evil, as it were, and not listening to his close allies who have been supporting him, shielding him internationally. On the other hand, yes, there is an increasing public opinion that is outspoken. I've seen it personally in the streets, the protest movements. We've seen it in the public square. We've seen it in all walks of life, in countless Western cities, where more and more people are speaking out against the injustices, against the genocide that's unraveling in plain sight on their TV screens.
And of course, that does bring me then to the next question, which was about sort of that European movement, the public movement at the moment. They're really important EU elections coming up in June, and the public are not stupid across Europe. Those that are voicing their opinion about what they see happening in Gaza are certainly making their feelings known in the ballot box. We've seen a recent British by-election in the northwest of England where the winning candidate fought just on one subject, and that was the war on Gaza, and how he, as an independent, was very different from the parties that you might say run the United Kingdom right now.
There is no doubt that Western public opinion is an educated public opinion in general, and Western elites are some of the more intelligent elites, there's no doubt. Like other elites around the world, intelligent, well-read, and they can see and they can tell right from wrong, and they can see the double standards. They can see their leaders' response in Ukraine, how it differs from their leaders' response in Gaza. And they also can see the hypocrisy. that their leaders claim one thing about human rights, but respond another thing when it comes to the violation of human rights in Gaza. Another thing they can tell is that, in the end of the day, leaders tend to have one standard, not double standard, and that's their interest and the interest of their countries, especially when it comes to their allies, in the case of Ukraine and Israel. But they just cannot stand the injustices anymore that is carried in their name, because at the end of the day, their governments are complicit in genocide, in the war crimes, in the state terror that is taking place in Gaza. So they understand that it's their tax money that is going to subsidize Israel's genocidal war. They understand that their leaders can do something about it, and they are not. So I think there is a general understanding that Israel is in the wrong, that this war is immoral, that supporting it is immoral, and it has proved to be counterproductive in the sense that it's not resolving any of the underlying issues, the conflict, the occupation, the settler colonial regime, the insecurity, and so on and so forth. In fact, if anything, the whole region now is more destabilized than before. So I think there is a general consensus, especially among the elites, but also among the public at large, that something has gone wrong over the past 5 months, that their leaders have proved to be useful idiots for Netanyahu, who used them, squeezed them, got all he wanted out of them in order to carry his personal, ideological, and colonial agenda in Gaza that proved to be genocidal.
Marwan Bishara, we'll leave it there for now. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor events and get your analysis as time goes by. For the moment, thanks for joining us.